Hello everybody, my name is Kara, and today I'm here with a book haul. So this is going to be kind of cumulative of like basically all the books I have acquired up to this point in the year. But especially I wanted to do this because I just had my birthday in April and some lovely people gave me some bookish gifts and I thought I would include those here. So this is just going to be like a bunch of books I collected from various places. So I'm going to start off with the books that were gifted or sent to me, and then we're going to get into ones that I paid for myself, that I got myself. Yeah, I probably should have done this book haul earlier because we have a lot to talk about. So first I have some things that my family gave me. One of them is Every Riven Thing by Christian Wyman. This is a poetry collection that I've actually already read and included in a wrap-up, but I had come across some of his poems before and I really liked them. I really liked his style, and especially in his shorter poetry. And then I also have a couple of books by G.K. Chesterton. The first is St. Thomas Aquinas, and the other one is Heretics and Orthodoxy. This is actually like a bind-up of two of his like famous nonfiction works, and I came across some of his essays or something somewhere, and I read part of them, and I really liked his style. I thought he was really interesting, and even he's one of those writers, I think, where even if I don't agree with everything that he says, I like seeing his perspective. You know, I like reading about his thought. So I think this is a biography. And then Heretics and Orthodoxy is kind of funny because the title of Heretics I think is like a joke he's making, because basically the format of that work is like a bunch of different essays on certain topics of his time. And for some of them, he would like address them to a particular person, like a critic of his generally. And a lot of times they were people that they were friends, like they got along even though they had vastly different worldviews. But I just think that's really funny. He would kind of like facetiously call his work heretics when he's like, I don't agree with you, so I'm just gonna like write you an essay to your face about why you're wrong and I'm right, but we're still friends. And then I also got Voices, The Final Hours of Joan of Arc by David Eliot. This is a novel in verse that is told from the perspective of various people and even objects around Joan herself, leading up to her execution. And I actually got this in person from a friend of mine for my birthday, so thank you so much. And I really enjoyed this. This is another one that is in that wrap-up I talked about. I really liked the style, and I don't know why I'm trying to review this. This is not a wrap-up video. This is a book haul. And he also includes segments from her trials, like the trial of condemnation and then the one that absolved her after her death. And I did really enjoy this. Next I have Heart of the Fae by Emma Hamm, and this was a present from my lovely friend Taylor from Page Screen Taylor. It will of course link all the people that I mentioned and talk about as I do with all of my videos. And this is like a Celtic inspired Beauty and the Beast retelling, which sounds amazing. I have been wanting to read this for a really long time and I am just so excited. This gets really high reviews. I hear a lot of people really enjoy this one. So thank you so much, Taylor. I am so excited to get to this. I feel like I don't have very many Beauty and the Beast retellings, like unread ones, on hand right now, and I need to fix that. Next I have Duel of Fire by Jordan Rivet. This is the first book in the Steel and Fire series, and I actually heard about this series from Kelly over at Cozy Reader Kelly. She's been reading and enjoying it a lot, and it sounded interesting, so I put it on my wish list, which is where my friend Katie from A Saved Homes actually sent it to me for my birthday. So thank you so much, Katie. I'm so excited about this. I think it's about a girl who's a duelist and she becomes a bodyguard for a prince or something like that. I don't know too much about the details, but I feel like I'm going to really enjoy this. Next I have The Tea Dragon Society by Katie O'Neill. This was a present from my lovely friend Priscilla from Bookie Charm, and this is another one that I think I featured in a recent wrap-up video. But the art of this is just stunning, and this is also a super diverse graphic novel. There are, I think, two different queer relationships in this book and multiple characters of color, and this is just such a lovely book. I love the dragons in it so much, and there's actually going to be a second volume I think that is coming out this year, and I'm just really excited for it. This was gorgeous and charming and lovely and just a good time. And then from Yvette from Book Cave, I got Classic Beauty, The History of Makeup by Gabriela Hernandez. I am so excited about this, you guys. You know that I love nonfiction about beauty and like the politics of the beauty industry sort of, and I like didn't really know about this book, so this is so exciting that Yvette like sent it to me. And she also sent me this absolutely stunning eyeshadow palette, which is actually what I'm wearing on my eyes today. And I love it. It's gorgeous. There's so much glitter in it. Yvette knows me very well. But I am like really looking forward to reading this. And actually Yvette mentioned that the author, Gabriela Hernandez, she is Latinx, and I might save this for the Latinx-a-thon. I don't know if I can wait that long though, but I'm really excited about this. Just like the history of makeup is something that fascinates me, and I never get tired of reading about it. And then the last couple books that I was sent are not really, or were not actually birthday gifts. And the first one is an arc of The Beholder by Anna Bright. I won her giveaway on Twitter, and I am so excited about this. This might be one of the next books I pick up, actually. This is one of my most anticipated reads of the year, and this is like a gender-flipped Odyssey retelling, I think. And I think this is just going to be fantastic. I read a couple of pages at the beginning and I love the writing. yeah, I'm just really looking forward to this. I'm so grateful that I won this copy. And then we have The Missing of Claire de Lune. This is the second book in the, is it Mirror Visitor? Yeah, the Mirror Visitor series by Christelle Dabo, translated by Hildegard Searle. And I actually received this from the publisher in exchange for a free and honest review. And I also have a spoiler-free review of the first book, which I will link in case you haven't seen that yet. But I loved the first book, and I'm really excited to pick up this next one, especially given some things that happened at the end of the first book. I'm just really eager, and this is a really clever and unique fantasy series, and I really grew to love some of the characters as well. Okay, so now we're gonna move into the books I bought myself over the last few months that were like not really for my birthday. Here we go, there's a lot. These are not really in any particular order. They were from all over the place as far as timeline goes. But first I have Teen Trailblazers, 30 Fearless Girls Who Changed the World Before They Were 20 by Jennifer Calvert, illustrated by Vesna Asanovic. And I just really love these like feminist nonfiction books, and the fact that so many of them now are geared towards young girls or young readers, I just think that's amazing, and I was excited to have this one for my collection, especially because you can see it was 20% off. I also picked up The Bird King by G. Willow Wilson. This is an Own Voices Muslim fantasy, and I don't know much about the story of this one. You guys probably have noticed that I tend to pick up on certain tropes or buzzwords or like character descriptions in synopses rather than like actual reading the full synopsis and the full plot, because I kind of like to be surprised by stuff, which makes, I'm sure, for a frustrating experience when I try to describe things I haven't read. But I'm really excited for this one. Also, like, beautiful cover. I absolutely love this. So our main character is Fatima, and her best friend is Hassan the Mapmaker, and they have to flee the palace because I think Hassan has magic powers, or like some kind of power that might make people uncomfortable, and I think they flee to another kingdom or something. I don't know. This is one I hope to pick up for the Muslim readathon that I'm participating in. I also picked up Defy the Worlds by Claudia Gray. This is the second book in the Constellation trilogy, and I recently reread Defy the Stars, which, like, I don't tend to reread books before continuing the series. I almost never do that, and I don't remember the last time I did it. But I did for that one because I realized I remember almost nothing about the story. I remembered like a couple big things that happened and nothing else. So I'm glad I reread it because so much of it was like, did not remember that was a thing. So I am really excited to jump into this one, although like the way the last one ended, I forgot how much of an emotional gut punch it was. So hopefully this will happen sooner rather than later, but we'll see. I also picked up The Bells by Daniel Clayton. This is a fantasy book that's, I think, set in like a fantasy version of New Orleans, and people in this world are born gray, with no color to them whatsoever. And the only people who can create color are these people called the Bells, and their power is really coveted for that reason. And I think the main character really wants to be one of the like palace bells, and I think then she gets recruited to do something with her powers that she doesn't really know if she should. Something like that. This was the book where, like, right when it came out, everyone loved it, and then I started hearing more negative things about it, and now I'm not sure how people feel about it. But it's out in paperback now, so I thought I would try it, and I don't know, I'm curious. I really like fantasy books that handle kind of beauty or appearance, like that kind of magic I find really fascinating, which makes sense given what I said earlier about like makeup history and nonfiction. But yeah, we'll see how I feel about this. I also picked up White Rose by Kip Wilson. This is another novel in verse, and it's about, I want to make sure I get her name right, Sophie Scholl, a young activist during World War II in Germany, and her brother and their group, they were arrested and executed for disseminating pamphlets, I think, that were very against the oppressive Nazi regime. I remember reading a little bit about her earlier, and she's just like an incredible person, and I am really looking forward to this. I read a little bit of the beginning, and I think I'm going to like the verse format and the verse style, because that's something that's definitely very particular. It depends on your personal reading tastes, how you get along with that. But I think this is going to be a really powerful book. Next, I have a couple more books that I've already read, so feeling pretty proud of myself for that. The first one is Sherwood by Megan Spooner. Again, this is one of the ones I talked about in that wrap-up. This ended up being one of my favorite books of the month, and I am so grateful to my friend Giselle for basically like forcing me to read this so we could talk about it, because even though this was on my list of like retellings I wanted to read for this like year-long challenge I'm participating in, I wasn't sure when I was going to get to it. I don't know why, I was like, I think I was nervous about how much I would like this after how much I loved Hunted by this author, but it was fantastic, and I realized I haven't told you anything about what it's about. This is a Robin Hood retelling that instead focuses on Maid Marian as the main character, and Robin is actually killed at the very beginning of the book, fighting in the Crusades, so we really follow Marian as she kind of takes on this persona of Robin Hood, and I just loved this. I mentioned in my wrap-up how I can see this being a very polarizing retelling for people, but so many things about it just really worked for me, and I loved it. Next, I have Transformed: The Perils of the Frog Prince by Megan Morrison. This is another one I've already read. This is the third and most recent book in one of my favorite ongoing series, and I love this. This is a Frog Prince retelling, fantastic character development. Again, I'm like reviewing this, and I shouldn't be reviewing this. I'm just showing you that I got it. I also picked up Furyborn by Claire Legrand. This is the first book in a fantasy series that I hear very mixed feelings about. Either people love it or they think it's the most boring thing they've ever read. And since I tend to like kind of slower, more character-focused fantasy books, I think I might really enjoy this. We'll see how I feel about it. Really hoping to enjoy this. I mean, obviously I'm hoping and like expecting to enjoy it or I wouldn't have bought it, but it's just one of those things you say in book hauls, you know? I also picked up the beautiful new cover redesign of Prince Charming by Rachel Hawkins. This was originally called Royals, but I knew they were getting a redesign, so I held off on buying it. I really like Rachel Hawkins' writing style. This is, I think, about a girl who her sister is marrying like the Prince of Scotland or something. Yes, she gets engaged to the Prince of Scotland, and our main character ends up kind of forming this like hate to love romance with one of the boys that she meets there while staying at the castle. I'm clearly very well informed about this book, but I've heard really good things about it. I know Brianna from Rainy Days and Stormy Nights loves this book, so I'm excited. I also picked up The Girl Who Could Not Dream by Sarah Beth Durst, and I remember nothing about the synopsis of this, except what you can glean from the title. She can't dream, and I think she works in like a magic shop or something, but I remember reading the summary of this one and being like, this checks a lot of my boxes, and I tend to really love Sarah Beth Durst's books. She has some of the most creative and unusual premises for her books that I've ever come across, and even when I don't love the book, I'm always like glad I read it because they're so interesting, but I do tend to really enjoy her books in addition to being interested by them. So excited to pick up this one. I also picked up Love, Sugar, Magic, A Sprinkle of Spirits by Anna Mariano. Priscilla and Yvette have been talking about what a great sequel this is. I really loved A Dash of Trouble, which is the first book, and so when I saw this, I had to pick it up because I know it's going to be good. I love the like baking magic in this series, and the sister relationships and just the family dynamics in general are just like, they're so good and they're so like warm and well developed, and I am just really loving this series. I also picked up Ogre Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine, and I didn't even realize this was a signed copy, even though there's like a giant sticker on it telling you that, but look, apparently Gail Carson Levine signed this, so that's really cool. So this is like a prequel, I think it's a prequel to Ella Enchanted, but it's like completely different characters, and I think the main character, she refuses to marry someone, or she refuses somebody's advances, and then she gets turned into a hideous ogre for it. And I feel like if I know Gail Carson Levine and like what she tends to do with her books, I'm pretty sure we're going to be deconstructing a lot of those tropes, and I mean, I hope it ends with her realizing that she's allowed to not be interested in the guy. I think that'd be great. So we'll see what happens with that one. Okay, finally, we are almost to the end here, guys. And we're gonna finish off with some books that I do remember where I got them from. Some books that I ordered from Book Depository across, again, like various spans of time. The first one is The House with Chicken Legs by Sophie Anderson, and this is illustrated by Elisa Paganelli. And the cover illustration is by Melissa Castrillon. That's really cool. They don't generally list that right on the front, like the cover illustrator. And I know that Laura from Bookie Laura absolutely adored this book, and I tend to really trust her middle grade recommendations. And I think, so this is about a girl who, her and her mother, they live in a house with chicken legs, and I think they help spirits cross over after they die, which is just a concept that really tends to interest me in books. And I just think this sounds really magical and whimsical, but with a little bit of darkness or seriousness to it, which really appeals to me, so really excited to get to this. I also picked up Lovely War by Julie Berry, and this is a historical mythology retelling, and it just sounds like so many things I'm gonna love. I think it's like Ares and Aphrodite, so they get caught, you know, having an affair, because Aphrodite is actually married to Hephaestus, and so I think she tells a story, I don't know, to try and like get out of trouble or why that happens, but it's like a frame story, and then she tells the story of these people in love during World War I think. That's all I really remember, but this sounds like fantastic. I'm so excited for this, and I also really like this cover. I also picked up the UK paperback of Enchantée by Guida Trellis. You probably have heard the synopsis for this. I feel like this book has been everywhere lately, and this is another one where like literally everyone was talking about it right before it came out. Like there were so many glowing early reviews, and then it came out, and I feel like I've heard a lot of people like saying it's not actually that great, but I think I'm gonna really like it, because some of the criticism people had, like things like the main character having like more of a quieter strength, like she's not like running out and fighting everyone for this revolution. I'm like, that sounds like it could be interesting actually, you know, following a character who's like not smack in the middle of all the action. And I think our main character, she has the power to change her appearance, and she kind of infiltrates the Palace of Versailles. Yes. And in order to like scam money out of people, I think, in order to provide for her and her siblings. And I think like the main conflict of this book is like the French Revolution is gearing up, and she's kind of caught between knowing like, yes, the rich people are treating the poor people horribly, but also the fact that she kind of enjoys this like fancy life she's living. And I think that conflict sounds really interesting. I also picked up Sister Wendy on Prayer by Sister Wendy Beckett with a biographical introduction by David Wilcock. She's actually somebody who I only learned about recently because she has unfortunately passed away, but she was apparently quite well known, and she focused a lot on art, and she just seems like she was such a cool person. Like one of the things she was known for was like bringing art appreciation to ordinary people, and not being pretentious about it, and that's something I think is really cool. And I just wanted to read some of her nonfiction, and like, I don't know, I just think this will be really interesting and I'm excited to read it. I also ordered A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. This is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and I think part of it takes place in the modern world, and our female main character is actually like a normal person. And I've also heard that she has cerebral palsy, I think. I don't think I've ever read a book with that representation before, so I'm really looking forward to that. And you guys know I love Beauty and the Beast retellings. Like I said earlier, I feel like I don't have a good like stash of them right now, because I guess because I always read them so quickly. But I'm really excited to have this one and to read it soon. This is another one I've heard mostly very, very positive things about, and I'm really looking forward to it. And finally, the last book in this really, really long book haul is The Gilded Wolves by Roshni Chokshi. Once again, very polarizing in that right before this book came out, everybody loved it. And then it came out, and I've seen so many 1-star and 2-star reviews in addition to like 5 and 4 stars. So this is definitely a very mixed response that I've been seeing. I do think I'm going to enjoy it though, because a lot of the criticism I've heard is like people didn't think it was as good as Six of Crows. I was really disappointed in Six of Crows, so I'm like, maybe I'll go the other way and maybe I'll really enjoy this take on it instead. So we follow a group of characters who I think like they get together to plan a heist and to steal some artifacts or something. And I remember one of the things that intrigued me about this is that there's also this story element or like this thread of anti-colonialism and like stealing back artifacts that were originally stolen by other countries, which I think is really interesting, really cool. And I'm excited to see how those things are incorporated into this fantasy setting. And I've also heard that the cast is very diverse as well, and I'm just really looking forward to this. Okay, everybody, we finally made it. So that was my collective book haul for basically all of 2019 so far. I should have filmed this a lot earlier because I was talking for way too long, but I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you have read any of these books or if you're really excited about them. Let me know a book that you acquired recently that you're really excited to read, whether that's one you bought or checked out from the library or were given or whatever. Just let me know something you're really excited about. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!